the way to think about it is, and I think there's a sports analogy. I think a lot of coaches feel this way. A lot of times it's more fun to build than maintain. You've got a big audience now. I've got a big audience now, but you're maintaining the audience that you've already built as opposed to kind of being out in the open and fighting to kind of make your voice heard. And the highs and the lows, I would say, for anybody out there that, when we would get a new advertiser back in the day, I'd run through the house like wanting to do cartwheels, jumping around like, hey, the mortgage is covered for the next several months. Like my family's not going to go hungry. The stakes felt more substantial. And I would say this too, in the wake of Trump winning, the stakes in the 2024 election felt big. I think when you're in the outside and you're looking in, the whole Biden era, COVID, everything else, I felt like we were on the outside trying to get to the inside. And then I felt a tremendous sense of relief when Trump won in late November, because I just thought, okay, we got 4 years. I can breathe a little bit. I don't think it's going to be an unmitigated disaster. But I do think that challenge of maintaining versus building is something I think about a lot.
All right, guys, as you know, it's August, so I am off the grid, but I did not want to leave you without content, because content is king and you people need to watch us talk all the time. So I brought on another talker, Mr. Clay Travis, the breast man in all of sports media. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How many different destinations do you have for August planned?
I don't want to reveal all of the secrets, but we'll be out and about, just not in places where people can find me. How about that?
That sounds fun. I'm actually always been envious of vanishing for August. So,
you can do it too, my friend. You've built businesses, you've sold businesses, you run your operations. It's all a matter of will.
But whenever I miss on radio with Buck, it's a huge deal because people expect us to be there. YouTube, where you have built your universe, I think is actually the future. And I'm kicking myself for being, a little bit behind the curve in a substantial way. But you were like on the front edge of this throughout. And I saw a stat the other day I was reading over the weekend. More people watch podcasts now than listen to them, which if you had told me that 5 years ago, I would have said, you're a total moron. There's no way that's going to happen. But guess where my boys spend all their time? YouTube and TikTok. That's it. That's where they are.
That's actually very interesting. And it's kind of where I wanted to start, because obviously I kind of want to just talk a little bit about everything, a little bit more about life and career rather than just the usual minutia that we do with politics and everything else. But you started OutKick in 2011. I started Rubin Report in 2013. And you just mentioned the audio podcast thing. And I always see these audio podcast lists ranking all of us in sports and politics. And I always think that. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't really care where I'm at in audio because I'm a video show and that's where people are. And yet people focus on that. But let's go back to 2011. What was young Clay Travis? How old was Clay Travis in 2011? We're about the same age, right?
I was 32.
32.
Is that the right math? Basically, 31-ish. Yeah.
What was Clay Travis thinking back in 2011 when he thought, boy, I'll build my own thing instead of going the mainstream route? Because that was early on. That was early on.
Yeah, I was ahead of the curve then. And I was terrified. I had a 3-year-old and I had a 4-month-old in January of 2011. And you may remember this site. Some people may remember it, called fanhouse.com. It was basically the front page of sports on AOL.com, which was still a very popular place to start the internet, even back in 2011.
People don't remember you had to sign up for AOL. Right. You'd get that freaking CD, sign up for that. Well, they'd send you a new CD every day, but if you got one, you could get on. AOL was basically the portal to the internet. Yeah. I mean, it's making us sound old, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and by the way, yahoo.com is still a place where tons of people start. Like, it is their homepage when they get on the internet every day. AOL still makes, I think, several $100 million off of AOL, like the dial. Like, yes, I think so. Have your team look up it's still a revenue producing element. Right. Some people think they have to pay to keep their email addresses. Right? Like if you're older, you're like, hey, I've been at AOL.com forever. And so they're worried and they keep paying even though they don't use like the dial-up internet anymore. But so January of 2011, Sporting News, another site that basically doesn't
Yeah, I
exist
remember.
anymore, bought all of the site traffic that Fan House was using and they fired all of us. Like the whole group, I don't know, there are probably a couple of hundred of us. I loved that job. I was traveling all over the country. And I decided then and there with my 3-year-old and my 4-month-old, I didn't want anybody else to ever control whether I could make a living online. So I started OutKick and did every ad sale, wrote every article. Like any small business that anyone starts, you had to wear a bunch of different hats. And we grew. And, in 2011, the world hadn't gone insane. This is what my book that's coming out in November is a little bit about. When did sports start going insane? I
Hmm.
peg it right around 2015. 2016 was when like the wheels came off. For several years, we just did fun. Hey, sports are awesome. Let's do drinking games for big games. Let's like make people laugh. And then sports suddenly turned into the most serious thing on the planet. And I wasn't willing to basically get in line and say, oh, the NFL is racist. And man, the worst thing that could ever happen to somebody is they could play in the NBA. It's like, I kind of like the idea of being a pro athlete, and I don't think they're being unfairly treated, or that America's an awful, fundamentally racist place, and that put me in a corner of not very many supporters.
Ever wonder why your brain feels foggy even when you're eating clean and staying active? It might not be burnout, it could be parasites. Groundbreaking research from Dr. Alan McDonald has revealed a direct link between chronic parasitic infections and neurological conditions like multiple sclerosis. These hidden invaders can trigger inflammation, cause nerve damage, and contribute to long-term cognitive decline. That's why a full-body cleanse at least once a year isn't just a trend, it's a necessity. Enter the Wellness Company. Their all-new cleanse combo brings together ivermectin and mebendazole, the gold standard solution trusted by professionals. The medical grade duo. This medical grade duo is designed to eliminate harmful parasites, support your immune system, and protect your brain and body from the inside out. No trendy gimmicks, just real science and serious results. Fill out a short intake form and get a 3-month supply delivered right to your door. Maha is here, and the Wellness Company is leading the charge, making hard-to-access medications available digitally so you can take control of your health. Just visit twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to save $90 and get free shipping. Change your body, sharpen your mind, feel like yourself again, starting today. Edgy stuff, man.
Yeah,
Edgy stuff.
I
America's
know.
not racist, edgy. Do you look back on, I want to talk about with that 2015, 2016 sports going crazy, because obviously that's kind of when politics went crazy too, because that's original Trump,
Yeah, that's
45.
right.
But do you look back on those days of the grind? So you lose your job, you have young kids, you're doing you said you're wearing all those hats, all those. Do you look back on them as the good old days? Like obviously you're huge success now, financial success, you sold OutKick, you're on I think, is it the #1 talk radio show in the country? Like you're
Yeah.
doing all this great stuff, but do you look back on that crazy moment as like, man, those were the good old days? Because I look at my days like that and I'm so much happier now. I have so much more, but they still feel like the good old days.
Well, I think it's the way to think about it is, and I think there's a sports analogy. I think a lot of coaches feel this way. A lot of times it's more fun to build than maintain. You've got a big audience now. I've got a big audience now, but you're maintaining the audience that you've already built as opposed to kind of being out in the open and fighting to kind of make your voice heard. And the highs and the lows, I would say for anybody out there that, when we would get a new advertiser back in the day, I'd run through the house like wanting to do cartwheels, jumping around like, hey, the mortgage is covered for the next several months. Like my
Yeah.
family's not going to go hungry. The stakes felt more substantial. And I would say this too, in the wake of Trump winning, the stakes in the 2024 election felt big. I think when you're in the outside and you're looking in, the whole Biden era, COVID, everything else, I felt like we were on the outside trying to get to the inside. And then I felt a tremendous sense of relief when Trump won in late November because I just thought, okay, we got 4 years. I can breathe a little bit. I don't think it's going to be an unmitigated disaster. But I do think that challenge of maintaining versus building is something I think about a lot.
Did you like doing all the stuff, like learning how to become a businessman and all that? I never thought I was going to have to do all
Yeah.
this, but then I suddenly realized when I was doing it, even though there's a lot of pain points and rejections and all
Yeah.
that shit, like I suddenly was like, boy, I do like building. And it also, I think it made me better as a pundit because I had more real world experience suddenly. I knew how to pay people. I knew how to balance books, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, like I saw it, I bet you would feel this. Skip Bayless came out recently and said, "Hey, in order to be great at my profession, I had to decide that I couldn't have kids." And I don't think I would have been a scintilla as successful as I am
Yeah.
if I hadn't had kids, right? It was the drive, I think, to provide and the drive to have success. And yeah, I loved all of it. I liked the fact of marketing. I liked ad sales. There was one point where I was making $45,000 a year doing local sports talk radio in Nashville, 3 hours a day. And I went on the ad sales, and one of our advertisers who was selling like bald men hair stroked a check for $50,000 for 6 months of ads that I was going to do. And I remember sitting there thinking, that check is more than I'm going to make for a whole year from one advertiser. So I think when you learn the
Yeah, but
business,
look at that hair, man. You're doing all
I've
right.
still got hair here. But when you learn the business, it makes you better at figuring out how to be better. And I think one thing I was a little bit unique of is I would just look at the data and I would say, if I'm going to be busting my ass, I want to bust my ass with topics that people care about, topics that are going to resonate. And I think that doing all of that, I'm still kind of amazed how many people have no idea how to make money at their for-profit job or how that impacts their own ability. And remember, I think when you have young kids and you got a mortgage to pay and you are just grinding, that motivation to learn is actually immediately usable, right? You got all these guys sitting around getting MBAs that have way more knowledge about how to use an Excel spreadsheet than me, but they don't understand how to make money to actually run a profitable business because it's all philosophy to them. And they make 200K to work at some business, and their success or failure is really hard to peg to the company. When you do everything, you take all the ownership on your shoulders. And I think there's a great deal of freedom in that because you can't turn to somebody else and be like, you screwed this up, buddy. It's all on you. And I liked it.
If you're tired of the mainstream media circus and want more honest conversations, go check out our media playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a wide variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.